Hello, Mr. Paul Engel. It's been a little while since we've sat down to chat, and
Well, I guess it has.
I'm glad you agreed to come on here, and maybe we can get caught up on some things. We've had an election, a presidential election. We went through that process. We've had a lot of things happen in our state. We've had a lot of things happen in our county. And Paul, one thing that I notice is people just don't participate. The general public just does not participate. The employer does not participate anymore. What's going on?
It's real simple. It's a combination. There's a story about a teacher in New York City. He's got this one little kid that just is nothing but a problem. And one day, in frustration, they asked him, "Johnny, are you ignorant or apathetic?" Johnny said, "I don't know, and I don't care." That describes most of the American people. It's
Right.
not unique to Bedford County. I deal at a national level. I deal with people across this country, and ignorance and apathy are rampant. Again, ignorance isn't an insult, it's a lack of knowledge. And it's something that is easily rectified. But people have to want to learn, and it just seems like they don't care. All they really care about is the government going to give them the goodies, the bribes
Right.
that they want. And if they get the bribes, they're happy. And if they don't get the bribes they want, or if somebody else gets the bribes that they
Okay.
want,
What are you
they're
talking
happy.
about? Bribe here. Describe what a bribe looks like.
A bribe is anytime you offer something of value in exchange to change your mind, to you would say to come up with a different answer.
Right.
So you think about it when a politician comes to you and says, "Okay, I will vote for this program to fix your roads if you vote for me." He is offering you something of value in exchange for your vote. That's a bribe. When he says, "I will increase funding for FEMA," or "I'm going to increase federal funding for the schools," or "I'm going to increase your Social Security benefit."
Right.
They are offering you something of value in exchange for your vote. Vote for me because I'm giving you something.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the definition of a bribe. And we, the American people, now we complain about the people that offer the bribe. We don't think about us when we accept the bribe. I was working on my radio program. We are $36 trillion in debt. Do you realize in just the first 2 years of fiscal 25, the federal government has run in over a $500 billion deficit in 2 months? 2 months. Now,
That's
people
it's
complain.
amazing.
Well, people complain. It's like, well, we're not taxing enough. No, revenues went up 9%. They got 9% more in tax revenues than they did the year before. The problem is the spending went up 13%. And where did that money get spent on? Well, some of it went overseas.
Yeah,
Right,
a lot of it.
to bribe other people to do things. But a lot of it said, "Here, federal, these are what I'll offer you if you vote for me." We treat elected officials as if there are rulers. There are employees, and they are borrowing money and giving it to us, and we're thinking, well, someone also paid for it. It never works that way. So we are ignorant of our role in the government of this country. We
Okay.
forget the
So
fact that
that's
the
the ignorance part. Let's talk about apathy.
well, so you think about it, right? Everybody thinks somebody will do something, but nobody does anything.
Yeah.
Right? There's a problem with we had a natural disaster. We had a hurricane, we had two hurricanes come through. Hit, thankfully missed us, hit eastern Tennessee, hit western North Carolina, did devastating damage, and people were sitting around waiting for the federal government to come up and give them money.
Yeah.
Anybody realize that the federal government's not authorized to pay for for emergencies? FEMA does not legally exist. It was created in contravention, contrary to the Constitution. The legislation that created it is technically void.
Okay.
But you see, it's much easier to sit back and let someone else pay the bills rather than helping my neighbor.
Well, there's a lot of things that exist within the sorry, my screen went black there for a second. There's a lot of things in the federal government that different departments that our federal government has created to provide a service or meet a need. How many of those departments right now legally exist?
One
Any?
out of 10.
Okay.
90% of the federal departments and agencies. When I researched my book, I found the website that lists all the federal departments and agencies. I went through, there's over 600, I think. I went through each and every one of them and I said, okay, can I find a power delegated to the United States that would be exercised by this department? And 9 out of 10 of them, the answer was no, which means Congress was not authorized to create the legislation to create the agency. The necessary and proper clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. Congress is only authorized to create legislation to put into execution the powers vested in the United States. So those are unconstitutional powers. They're unconstitutional legislation. Alexander Hamilton in Federal 78 basically said, no act of the legislature contrary to the Constitution can be valid. It can't.
Okay. Well, there's this new dream team that we have coming. The Department of Government Efficiency, or I don't think they're calling it a department. Maybe they're tagging it that, but it's a temporary group of people, okay, which is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and maybe others. They're going to come in and look at government efficiency. I say they got their job cut out for them. Do you expect any department to be cut after
Honestly,
they go
no.
through their review?
I really don't think you'll see a department cut. You might see some budget cuts. Because the problem is, first of all, I love the idea. In fact, I'm trying to find out. I keep hearing about it. I want to find some place because I want to reach out to them and say, you want a government efficiency. If 9 out of 10 agencies do not legally exist, that would be a great way to get some efficiency back. I would love to help you. Put me in touch with your staff, and I can show you, article, section, and clause how these agencies don't legally exist, and we're not going to turn the light switch, right? But we can start trimming them back. Because remember, DOJ has no power, right? They call it a department. What it is just another White House committee. Right. It's a White House group that's going to make recommendations. Well, the problem with recommendations is as soon as you start talking about cutting something.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now the politicians are going to hear from all the unions. Oh, you can't do that, And of course, it'll all be let off as, well, if you cut that, then you hate elderly, or you hate health, or you hate this, or you hate that. Right. No. We need to realize that government, especially the federal government, is so inefficient at this that they actually make things worse than if you simply dealt with it at the state or local level.
Right. For instance, the department that comes to mind is the Department of Education. First one that pops in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Totally useless. We have boards of education throughout this country. They're trying to give an outlay and help manage the local education system. Okay. And you've got a federal bureaucracy that is basically supported by the teachers union or in conjunction with the teachers union. And you have just a churn of money. And they come up with federal regulations, federal guidelines, push it on the state push it down to the local level. And it's just a big wad of mess. And honestly, our education system has gone down because of all the mandates and all the regulations and all the grandiose ideas that they come up with. And we're now 13th in the world, and we should be number 1 in the world.
I wish the Department of Education was merely ineffective. I mean, I wish they were meaningless. The fact is they are actively destructive to our educational system.
Yes.
When before it was 1976, I believe, Department of Education was created. The United States, I forget what we spent per student in the world, but we were somewhere, not too far, but we were near the top. We were in the top 5 or 10 as far as the quality of education. Since the Federal Department of Education, like you said, we're now 13th in the world in math. I think we're 16th in language studies.
Yes.
Yet we spend more per student than anyone else. Why? Because the U.S. Department of Education One, they're too far away from the students.
Right.
Two, they're about implementing politics. It's
Yeah.
about, it's the dear colleague letter. It's not about let's help our children know reading, writing, arithmetic. No, it's let's teach them to be, that boys can be girls. Let's teach them to allow boys in the girls' bathroom.
Right. Well,
And here's the sad part. The state of Tennessee last year considered stopping to accept the funding because everyone said, you have to do what the DOE says, because if they don't, they'll stop sending the money. And they looked at it and they said, yeah, we could, this is all the money we wouldn't think. I reached out to them and said, do you realize that by accepting this money, you're actually accepting a bribe?
yeah.
Therefore, if you were to simply stop accepting the money, one, you'd not be, complicit in accepting in bribery. But yeah, has anybody sat down and figured out what the cost of implementing all these federal regulations are compared to the money that you actually get?
Well, the money you get has strings attached to it. It's all tied to special programs. It's tied to free lunch, special education. You have to spend that money, allocate it for these things, and you have to do this, or they're not going to give it to you.
Well, my point is, how much does that cost? Those strings. That's my point.
Oh,
If the government
great.
gives you $100 million, but it costs you $150 million to comply with the regulations, that's not a good deal.
Well,
but it's also the question of the bribery. It's illegal what you're doing.
It's the Department of Education. It's not about the children. It's about the adults. That's all I can see.
Yeah, you're right, and it is worse than a waste of time. It is actively destructive for our society, and the states do not have to follow a word the DOE says.
Right.
But they have accepted the bribe, and they're like drug addicts.
Right.
They've been offered, here's money. Oh, now there's strings attached. They'll sell their soul. They'll sell their child to get the money from the DOE. And that's literally what they're doing, is they're selling their children into ignorance, because that's how you get the money from the federal DOE.
Okay. We went down a little rabbit hole there, but I think we could speak about most government agencies, federal agencies, and have the same type of conversation. The same waste of bureaucracy. Okay, so then bring that to Bedford County. Bring that to close to home. It affects us. It filters down to us. But for us to change that, we have to start at this level.
You're right. We have, you think about it. What are your odds of getting a meeting with Donald Trump? Nil. What are your odds of getting a meeting with your state rep? Forget the federal, the U.S. senators. What about the U.S. rep? On average, they're representing 750,000 people. You're just a name on a list. They don't care about you except how you vote.
Of course.
State, you can probably get a meeting with your state rep and your state senator, but really we have powers locally. It's here in the county. And we were talking about this earlier today, but the biggest thing I think we need to understand, we talk about ignorance and apathy, and how do we deal with those? The American people don't realize we're the ones in charge. The Constitution of the state of Tennessee, along with most of the other states, state that all power is inherent in the people. We hold the power. We hold the keys. We hold, to Lord of the Rings. We wear the ring to run them all. We don't know it, and we don't know how to use it. That's one of the things I want to bring. Is I want to come down. I live in Bedford County. I want Bedford County to be constitutionally sound. That's why I want to bring my event here. It's called Power in the Hands of the American People. It's recognizing the power that we have, and I can prove it using just a few clauses from the Constitution, and get people to understand you are not a subject of the federal government.
Okay.
You're its master.
As a citizen of Bedford County, as somebody that's lived here for a while now, when you look at our local government, what do you see as far as, and I know you're not deep into it, but just as a bystander, what do you see that needs to change in Bedford County, if anything?
I think the people of Bedford County need to recognize that when you are electing somebody to office, county office, state office, it doesn't matter. You are hiring an employee, and every employee has an employee handbook. Here in Bedford County, it's the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, and the county charter. These are the rules by which your employees are supposed to work. If we understood that and we said, oh, okay, you're an employee, are you doing the job we hired you to do? Too often the job people are hiring their employees to do is to rip off others to give them goodies.
Right.
We don't care about whether or not something's legal or not. We care about, hey, are you going to fund this project? Are you going to build this building or this bypass? Or can you even get a zoning variance because I want to build my apartment complex here, and
Right.
it's not zoned for it. It's funny. I have talked to a couple of I don't live in the city of Shelbyville, but I have a guy I know who's on the city council there, and I know people on the county commission, and they're like, yeah, they get called for the craziest of things. They're not looking for someone to follow the rules. They're looking for somebody to give them an edge, to give them something. And they seem to forget that, well, if you're going to county government to get you something, that means everyone else is going to the county government to get something from you.
Yeah.
When we understand that they're employees and we treat them that way, here's your job description. And when it's time for the election, well, did you follow the rules? Did you do what you were supposed to do? Too often it's, well, he's a good guy. She's a great lady. I've known her all my life. She and Papa, used to play cards all the time. It's about friendship rather than are you doing the job? There's nothing wrong with friendship. There's nothing wrong with knowing a guy on the council. But if all you're doing is worrying about, well, so-and-so is a friend, so I'm going to do something for him. That to me is what I see in Bedford County is we used to call it the good old boy network.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's not
alive and well.
If it's not what you know, but who you know.
Right.
If you know someone you can get something through, which really it's a sad state of affairs. And as more and more people are moving to Bedford County, we think about that power of the good old boy network. You don't have as much influence anymore because now your good old boy friends, they know a lot of other people as well. All of them are there at the trough looking for the bribe.
Yeah.
And it's not unique to Bedford County. I hear about this all over the country.
Sure.
But I live here. I want this to be better. I want government to do the least necessary to make sure that we're safe, that our rights are protected.
Right.
And that if I find people that will do that job, they're the ones that I'm going to support. There's the ones I'm going to help. And they're the ones when they come to me and say, hey, Paul, we have this idea. Does it fit constitutionally? I'm going to give them the true answer. Right. It may not be the answer they want, but it'll be the true answer.
It might be an answer they don't want to hear.
It might be. It might be.
More than likely it would be. But so at the local level, then it gets down to everybody getting involved. We've got our county government is staffed by a lot of county residents, of course. As a matter of fact, Bedford County government is the largest employer in the county, is our county government. When you put the teachers and all the other staffing together, they're all considered county employees. And I forget the number, but it's way on up there. And then when you get those people and their families, that's a large swath of the population. And those people live here. They surely want the best for Bedford County. I know a lot of them, but for some reason they get caught up in this good old boy network as well. And that's tough to overcome.
Well, we're always going to want the best for ours first, right?
Right.
Let's face it, if you and I are sitting somewhere and this is a choice of what's best for me, me and my family versus you and your family, my family's going to always come first to me. That's kind of the nature of the beast. The fact that the largest employer of the county is the county itself, to me, that tells me something. It's a scenario where if government is the largest employer, where's the rest of the businesses? Where are they? Why are they not here? Now, maybe they're not here because Bedford County for a long time was kind of a quiet little county with not a lot of industry or stuff like that. But I also look at saying Bedford County is growing. And if you're telling me that the biggest employer, probably the largest payroll, is what you pay in taxes, do you really want the people that will be, do you want the people to be able to vote themselves a pay raise? Because it's really
Well,
what you're talking about.
that takes place. It takes place.
Yes. I work for the county. I don't, but imagine if you work for the county and you have a candidate that says, I'm going to give everybody in the county a raise next year. They're going to get a lot of votes just because of that. And we never stop to think of what does it cost? And it's one thing to have a county employee that's an elected person that's a friend, but do you really want somebody that's just going to give you what you want, or are you going to give somebody that cares enough to tell you maybe there's a better way? As children, if we got what we want, we'd all be sick from all the candy we ate, right?
Yeah,
Our parents would tell us, no, you can't have, you're going to spoil your dinner. Sometimes we need someone to say, hey, I'm going to hire you to take care. You hire a personal trainer. They don't tell you to sit on the couch eating Cheetos and watching YouTube videos. They tell you to get your butt out of the seat, go walking, go to the gym, do some exercise. It's not what we want to hear.
Right.
It's what we need to hear.
Right.
We need to be looking for county officials that will tell us what we need to hear because they care for us long term.
Right.
Not what is, hey, vote for, I'll give you this and vote for me in 2 years.
Right. Right. Well, we've been encouraging people, and a lot of people have been talking about the way to make Bedford County better is everybody get out and vote for good people. Okay. Elections have been pretty much, well, let's just say low numbers in turnout. The presidential election is slightly higher because everybody thinks that if we elect a president, the world's going to change and our life is going to be better tomorrow because we vote for a president, so they get out. But the local elections are poorly participated in, and that's something that we have been trying to promote and push here on Shelbyville now. Get out and vote. Whoever your candidate is, look at the person. And ask the question: are they going to represent me? If they're going to represent me and my fellow constituents, that's who I need to vote for. But it just seems like there's just not much participation. So that's one thing that we got to do. And I think a lot of people think, well, it just doesn't matter. They're going to do whatever they want to. And that gets to the apathy. So I know you want to do some things locally to try to get people's attention to their constitutional rights and that the Constitution is to be followed at the local level as well. What can we do there? What do you have up your sleeve?
So, yeah, I mentioned it before. It's power in the hands of the American people. Most people I talk to have no clue the actual power they have. I describe them as Bruce Banner after the radiation and before he gets angry. He doesn't know he's got this power, but it's there. Or it's Peter Parker after he's bit by the spider, but before he reveals his powers. We're in that spot where we have all of this power. We have this amazing set of tools that we don't even know about. And when you start learning about them, it really opens your eyes. I describe it as we love being the land of the free, but we won't be the land of the free unless we're brave enough to live that way. So what I did is I had this talk, and I've done it a couple places, and I want to bring it to Bedford County and the surrounding counties. That just says, understand a little of the power that you have, that you are not the subject of some bureaucratic official, that you have the legal authority to say no, and I can prove it using a few clauses from the Constitution and a couple of Supreme Court opinions to prove that I'm right, that people agree with me. Now, the biggest issue I have is, like I said, it's the apathy. Is I want people to come out probably like a late Saturday morning, get together for an hour or so, and I want to talk to them about this. I want to explain this to them, and then I want to answer their questions. But I can't get, I want to find out, I need to know how many people are interested in, so we can find a venue. and I can't get anybody to answer. So if you're interested, this sounds interesting. We have,
Right.
by the way, I've done this before. We've had a lot of fun. I've given away constitutions. I've got a great talk. There's going to be great opportunities to meet other people that are interested. Just go to constitutionstudy.com/power and sign up. It'll tell you a little bit. I'm still building some of the content, but if you sign up, you'll get email updates as we find a venue and establish a date, and you can help us figure out what date and time would work best,
Yeah.
and have this so that people can learn. And what I found is if I can find a handful of people, a small percentage of the people that are really will be really interested in this, and they can make a huge difference in not just in the county, but the county impacts the state, and the
Right.
state impacts the nation. But we start right here with little things like, this meeting or meeting with your county commissioner and holding them accountable to their oath of office. There's so much, and I'm always looking for more ideas. So different events we can do, different places I can speak. But, like I said, I moved from upstate New York to get away from this imperial mindset. This is my home now. I want this to be better because one day I'm not going to be here, but my daughter will.
Yeah.
And I want to leave this place a bit better for my daughter than it is today.
Us folks with gray hair feel the same way. That's what we want to do. And
it's not about politics or party or anything like that. It's like, it's understand, what does the Constitution say? What should we be holding our elected officials to? And if we do that, well, then hopefully when the craziness happens all around us, we'll have friends and neighbors in the county, so that when the president says, I'm signing an executive order for everybody to get a shot, everybody in the county says, oh, no, you're not.
Yeah.
we ain't taking no shot. You want to put a diaper on our face? We ain't doing that. You want to close our businesses? You want to say we're not essential? Ain't happening. And we can do that, and we can do it legally.
Yes, and a few people did that. A few people did that a few years ago, and they stood up and said, "No, we're not going to do that." And what happened? Nothing, because I think most every elected official and elected representative that tried to pull that stunt knew that it wasn't legal, and they didn't have a leg to stand on in the end.
Even worse, trying to enforce it would have been a federal crime.
Yep.
It's not just that what they were doing was illegal. That it's not something that it wasn't legal for them to do it. It's actually a crime for them to do it. And it just takes a little bit of education. And isn't it wonderful? I had 2 FBI agents on my front porch one day. And I looked them right in the eye and said, sorry, I don't chit chat. It had nothing to do with the Constitution. It was a completely different. But wouldn't it be nice to know if a federal bureaucrat shows up at your front door and demands something? You can simply say, no, not. You can't legally do that, and I can prove it, and I can stand. Or even a state bureaucrat, or even a county official, or even local law enforcement. Imagine a world where where you get to tell the law enforcement no. And if they persist, you say, fine, I need badge numbers because I'm filing not just filing a lawsuit, I'm filing criminal charges, a criminal complaint against you. You want to spend time in jail? Be my guest.
And I'm sure that's a question that a lot of people would like to ask you more details about. Mm-hmm. And this sit down question and answer session, if we can get something going, would be the perfect place to do it, where you can explain in more detail what you're talking about. So right now, if you have an interest in finding out more about meeting with Paul, sitting down and having a question answer time, and if you're interested, just type interested under the video here, and we'll contact you and try to put you on a list and get you directed to the website so you can sign up for more information as this comes along. So, Paul, what we'll do is just one person at a time, try to get people interested. And hopefully we can get together soon and have a group of people just to sit down and have this discussion you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I'd like to have more. I'd love the idea of just wouldn't it be nice to get together every so often, sit down over a cup of coffee, and actually just talk about the Constitution and ask questions and get answers, not just opinions, but
Yeah.
with proof and data behind them.
Okay, I've got a question for you, and this is just for fun, okay?
Okay.
But it's kind of serious too with the news that's going on. If I look up tonight and over my property there is a drone the size of a pickup truck flying, and let's say it's 150 feet off the ground and it's specifically over my property, can I pull out my 243 and shoot it?
Well, you can. The question is, will someone show up and slap cuffs on you?
Okay,
And
that's
here's
my
the interesting
question.
thing: there's an altitude limit. I think it's
Okay,
500 feet.
right,
If they are over 500 feet, that's not your airspace. If they're under
right.
500 feet, yeah, pretty much they're trespassing. Now, really, what you should be doing is holding up a big sign that says you are trespassing on private property. You know, I'm
Well,
calling the
I'm just,
police, and then I'm going to
I'm
shoot you
kind of,
down.
I'm making a joke here, but all these folks in New Jersey are up in arms, and our federal government and our state government in New Jersey is either covering up something or they're showing an absolute extreme amount of incompetence. I don't know which it is.
The funny thing is, all right, so like New Jersey, right? So the feds say the state can do it. The state says no, the fed have to do it. Do you know what? New Jersey is a sovereign state. They can defend their borders just as legally as the federal government does. It's
Well,
the same thing that
I
Texas
think
had.
the mayor and the sheriff there have legal authority to shoot this out of the sky.
Well, there's a difference between the state and a county, right? Because a state is a sovereign entity. It's created by a
Right,
constitution, whereas a
right,
county is a subsidiary of the state. It's created by a charter. But the point is, when they come across, if they cross in over the state has just as much right to defend their borders as the United States does. The same way you have a right to defend your property. The biggest issue you run into is um, how far do you want to escalate it, right?
right.
Do you want to take the you want a bunch of good old boys with hunting rifles and shotguns? You know,
Hey, if it happens in
we're going for a
Bedford
pheasant
County,
hunt. All those
it,
pheasants had with the propellers on them. You know,
yeah.
the
I think if it happens in Bedford County, you're going to see a lot of guns come out.
which is I guess the point I'm trying to make is we got there because you have a federal government that has been ineffectual in foreign policy, and we have a state government that doesn't know the powers they have as a state. They think
Yeah,
they are a subject of the federal government, not its creator.
right.
In New Jersey, as one of the original 13 states, they created what we now call the federal. They created the federal government,
So it's their
not the other
fault.
way around.
It's their
Yeah.
fault.
Ultimately, it's the state of New Jersey saying, if you're coming over here, you know, why are you invading our airspace? You're
Yeah.
violating our airspace. They have as much of a right. They have, in fact, I would say they have more of a right than the federal government
Oh yeah.
because of the way the Constitution is written.
Right.
But it's this whole idea of I'm not going to do. We're going to let everyone's pointing the finger, saying somebody else
Yeah.
deal with this.
Yeah. It's mind boggling that this has gone on for so long and nothing's happened here. Hopefully, we'll
Yeah.
find out soon what's going on there. But back to the local level, Paul, let's wind things down. And if you are interested, if you're listening to the video and you're interested, I'm going to put a link to Paul's website below the video or above the video, however it plays out. So you can go to Paul's website and check out all his content, and then find a place there where you can sign up if you're interested about getting emails, and also find out about this local meeting that we might be trying to organize. And if you are interested, just respond below the video in the comment section, interested, and we'll reach out to you and let you know try to get you in touch and let you know what's going on. But Paul, thanks for sitting down again. As always, it's been fun. And again, Paul's website is www.constitutionstudy.com. He has a couple of books, and you put content up pretty often. So
Every day, but I've got news feeds I put up there. I've got my daily radio program. I've got articles. I got videos. I'm always putting content there. There's always great stuff to find.
Well, we need to get you in touch with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and let you
Yes,
talk to them.
absolutely,
Everybody
absolutely.
just needs to flood their emails when they get this department or this committee started and say Paul Engel, Paul Engel. But I'm sure they've got constitutional people, but the more the merrier. I mean,
Well, the
they
problem is most people that call themselves constitutional,
yeah,
they actually don't study the Constitution. They study judges' opinions about it. They study
right,
constitutional law.
right,
So you'd be surprised how many attorneys I have cut down in an argument simply because the Constitution doesn't say that.
right.
So
They add to it, but we
they,
won't go into that.
yeah. Don't get me started.
All right, all right, Paul. Thanks again for sitting down. We'll be back again real soon with Paul and give you an update on how things are going. And I'm sure there's going to be some other topics that we will talk about. There's always something in the news that there's a constitutional position on. So we'll have Paul back real soon. Thanks for watching. Paul, again, thanks. And we'll see you guys real soon.